You are tuning in to the Cigar Guys Podcast, where aficionados and newcomers alike gather to explore the vast cigar universe. Meet your host, Alexander Gonzalez, Mark Nikollaj, his big little brother Zachary Nikollaj, and Jared Burrows. So sit back, light up, and let's get the conversation started. But first, a quick word from our sponsors.
What if every cigar was considered vintage? What if every cigar that we made was that perfect experience? And so that passion drove us to create Sans Pareil, a cigar without equal. The inspiration between Sans Pareil is 100% all about quality. Everything that we enjoy in our cigars, everything from the tasting notes to the burn, to the aroma, to the way the cigar lights, to the packaging, everything is focused on Sans Pareil cigars. And that's where we came up with our name, Sans Pareil, which is French for without equal, unparalleled. And we take every cigar that we make to that level, making sure that if it isn't something that inspires you to do something more, then it's not part of the portfolio, and that's what drives us every day.
Thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Cigar Guys Podcast. Back in the studio again this week with myself, Alex Gonzalez. We have Mark Nikollaj with us. We have Jared Burrows as well, and we have the King, Phil King, to be precise.
Welcome to the show.
Nice.
How are we doing, Phil?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to this. It's a cool opportunity to smoke some cigars and
Yeah,
drink some
yeah.
whiskey. Not like we need much of an opportunity for that, but it's always good to get the guys together. So,
Of course,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Doing any podcasts recently?
You know, it's been a little while since I've done a podcast. I
Okay.
think this is number 3 for me now.
Okay.
But it's been a good couple of years since the last one.
That's great. And we're going to be talking about Blue Run and maybe a few other things. We're going to do kind of a tasting that you'll walk us through. And
Sure.
I'm excited to learn more about it. I've tried some of Blue Run. I know Jared participated in a great tasting that you guys had over at Blend and Barrel.
That's right.
This will be my first time.
Yeah, looking
Nice.
forward to
Mark's first time.
it.
Yeah, fantastic. I think, Jared,
Yeah.
you were a big fan last time.
Yeah. The middle one, right? The rye, I believe it was.
Yeah, the rye.
Yeah.
No, the high rye
High rye.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the high rye bourbon and the bourbon. Your friend liked the bourbon, and
Yeah, you just kept pouring for us and pouring for us.
you know? Hey, you told me you were going to buy a couple bottles, so I was like, let me go ahead and
No, I mean, I'll still do it once he brings it
send a
in.
couple your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once they bring it in.
Cool.
Which will be soon. So yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and let you, first of all, talk about kind of your story, how you got into the industry and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then we'll dive into Blue Run.
Yeah, well, gosh, the story goes long back, and kind of moved into the spirits world through the wine world, and kind of first started in the wine industry, really in the retail side of it, selling wines to retailers and some wholesale stuff. Working for Southern Wine and Spirits back in the year 2000.
Okay.
So I started with the wine industry there and sold wine for, gosh, I guess 4 years with Southern Wine and Spirits, and then moved over to Breakthrough Beverage and sold wine with Breakthrough for another 2004 to 2009. And then in 2009, I moved over to the liquor side.
Very
I was
nice.
really reluctant because, my whole background was food and wine. I come from the kitchen.
Okay.
So I was, a chef, a sous chef, and working with, I had a really highfalutin chef in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the real food.
Yeah, the
Out
real
there.
food. He was really into it, and he was really into doing some whiskey, some wine and food dinners. So it was the early days of the wine dinner days.
Nice.
And this was in, probably 96, 97. And so, it kind of started off with, hey, we're going to do a wine dinner, and I want you to help me put this together. Okay, you got it, chef. And, how do you want to do it? Okay, well, I want you to join us at the tasting and taste a bunch of wines with us. And chef was tasting the wines. And then I just kind of was taking notes for him. And he was like, okay, we're going to pair this wine with this food and this wine with this food. And we were tasting with the distributors. And I got a real sense of food and wine and how it was paired together. And that kind of led me on my journey. And then when I moved to Orlando here, I was back in the kitchens, found myself back in the kitchens. And one of the guys who I was chatting with happened to have been a wine rep. He's like, man, you know a lot about wine. I said, yeah. Told him the story about the old chef. And he's like, I should get you a job in the industry. And I said, fucking let's do it. So he got me a job in the industry. And that was where I started in 2000 with Southern Wine and Spirits.
Very nice. Yeah, absolutely. So you do a lot of events still, outside of obviously being the rep and selling to different locations?
Yeah, I try to keep myself real busy. You know, I own my own business now, you know, soft plug of iHospitality. It's a kind of a brokerage business, but it focuses a little bit more with activities on the street.
Okay.
So it seems to be where a lot of people like to work, and they really want to try to get some momentum going with brands. And that was where now I have brands that have hired me to represent them on the street. So fortunately enough, I've got the Coors Whiskey portfolio, which we're seeing today with the Blue Run, the 5 Trail, and the Barman. And before this, I was with Heaven's Door and working with Heaven's Door whiskeys, the Bob Dylan whiskey, fantastic stuff there. And I have vodka in my book, 44 North vodka. I've got a rum. I've just picked up a new rum from Star from the island of Mauritius. And then, of course, I've got, I had a gin, which, you know, brands come, brands go.
Yeah.
So it was kind of in and out with the gin. I had that one for a good couple of years. And now I've got a new tequila as well called Dame Mas.
Okay.
And it's looking like, you know, maybe I might be picking up another new vodka in the future. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah.
So you completely
Got a
moved from like
couple things.
wine to liquor. Would you ever sell wine again?
Yeah. I still love wine to this day.
Yeah, I do too.
I love wine. I love the complexities of wine. I love the, you know, the process of it. Of course, you know, it's all about fermentation. I always say it's all about fermentation and distillation. And you start talking about wine and you're really talking about the fermentation. And, you know, I grew up in California, so Napa and California wines were a big part of what we did and how we grew up and understanding those. My mom was big into wine and as well as a fantastic cook. So I learned a lot of stuff about food and wine back in the day, and I still love wine today. Everything from Pinot Noirs and to the Cabernet Sauvignons of Napa Valley to the Pinot Gris and
Silver Oak is
Sauvignon
my favorite wine.
Yeah. Silver Oak has a beautiful vineyard in Napa, but they also have a fantastic vineyard that a lot of people don't know about in Sonoma.
Yeah, I've been to both.
Yeah, the Silver Oak
amazing.
Sonoma is fantastic.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, those vineyards are right next door to Alexander Valley Vineyards, AVV. And Alexander Valley, of course, in the Alexander Valley of Sonoma County, fantastic grapes. I love the Cabernets from Sauvignon. I just think they're fantastic. But it was funny because I used to sell AVV.
Okay.
And we would be out in the vineyards and they'd like literally say, see the group of grapes right there? That's Silverado, Sonoma. And I'm like, no shit, So, I love those. I love the Cabernets from Sonoma County in particular. I really like that style. But all grapes in particular, I just love them all. And, I love what they're doing up in the Pacific Northwest now. And some, great Pinot Gris and great Chardonnays from the Pacific Northwest and just some fantastic stuff.
So does California make the best wine?
Well, that's a good question, right? A lot of people going to argue that question. That's for sure. California makes great wines. They got great grapes. These are all, the Vinus Vinfiera. These are all the original, draftings off the French varietals. And, even when the French went through phylloxera that infected their vines, the French went back to America to get graftings off of their vines. So it's funny how, French vines now are even grafted off of American rootstocks. So anyways, which one's better?
Preference, really, right?
I mean, really preference for sure, but you just can't discredit the great, wines of the the Loire or the great wines of Burgundy or Bordeaux or something like that. Those are just fantastic grapes. And, it's a sense of pride from where the, that kind of got its heritage and its start. And, French wine's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So who does it better?
You decide.
I'll leave that. Yeah, I'll leave that up to the drinker.
America.
California wines, Pacific Northwest. Yeah. West Coast wines are absolutely fantastic.
And then real quick too, before we get too much into it, and then maybe we'll kind of get some of the stuff ready. We're going to talk about the cigars we're smoking. Some things that I think will pair well with the whiskey, and we're going to kind of critique my choices. But I'm smoking the Besa Maduro, the San Andreas. I hooked Phil up here with the Besa Habano, which is the Ecuadorian Habano.
It's fantastic.
I'm glad you enjoy it. And we got Mark over here.
Smoking the Samurai Red.
Yeah, that one's the Churchill.
Oh.
And then
How perfect. I'm also smoking a Samurai Red.
there you go. Yours is a little shorter though.
Yeah,
Which is weird because Jared's a fast smoker.
I know. Yeah. Well,
which is weird. So I have to really balance this out a little bit.
well, personal allocation things. Some people smoke things more often than others do. So, Jared's selection might be more limited than Mark's currently, but it's all going to work out. You get to try maybe the purple colada later for the first time.
There we go.
So yeah, I mean, do you want to do kind of like a little tasting? I know I've experienced one of your tastings back when you were with Heaven's Door, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Celery City.
Oh, yeah.
Long time ago. So that's when I first tried Heaven's Door, got introduced to you. And that was a great event. Clearly, you are passionate and very knowledgeable about the products that you represent. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing that with everyone else here as well that's watching.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Whiskey. Yeah, I love all the spirits. I just love them all. I really do. It's, I was just talking to some people about a pisco, Peruvian piscos, and I just love I love them all. I've got a new tequila in the book and kind of reminiscent on tequila days. And boy, I tell you, tequila is fantastic. The new mezcal categories and what mezcal's now coming of here in the last, 10 years has been fantastic. I've spent time down in Mexico, in Jalisco, as well as in Oaxaca. And, just seeing the whole process just kind of really invigorates and, really just, sets it in place for you. But today we're drinking whiskey.
There you go.
Whiskey seems to be the choice of the new generation these days, kind of the hot button. One of the few spirits that people really love to, bring out for tasting events and bring out for dinners and such.
Yeah.
Getting ready to do a whiskey dinner next Wednesday, so a week from today.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday up at Root and Branch up in Claremont, and we're doing a bourbon dinner. September is Bourbon Heritage Month, so we'll be toasting up a whole handful of different bourbons up there, some of which I represent, some of which I don't, but that's okay. And I just love talking about the brands and love letting people experiment with them. And today we've got some of the Blue Run stuff up here, and we've got the bourbon. This is part of the Reflection series. Blue Run is a fantastic small batch, 200 barrel blends of different bourbons. And this is their second in the series of the Reflection series. So first one, of course, was Reflection 1. This is Reflection 2, a little bit different of a mash bill. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we have the High Rye, which is actually a bourbon as well. Just has a higher rye component to it. Also, it's got a little bit more proof to it as well. And then, of course, we have the beautiful Rye, which is also in a series as well. We call this the Emerald series. And this is the Emerald 2 Rye. This is kind of my favorite, honestly, between the first and the second of the series. I really love the second of both of these series on the Emerald Rye as well as on the Reflection Bourbon. So let's have a little bit of the bourbon.
All right, let's do it. And yeah, like you said, bourbon's still of the younger generation. Whiskeys in general more popular, but of course with cigars, whiskey still seems to be that drink of choice, and tequila is getting more popular. But I think whiskey overall is just that go-to for the tastings and the events that we see happening.
People love to do cigar. Yeah, sure. people love to do cigar and whiskey pairings. It
Yeah.
seems that they go really well together. It's kind of a joint classification between the two, and it's just
Let's not
drinks
pour
really
too
well.
heavy because we got a lot to go through.
Oh,
You
sorry.
didn't think about
It's
that,
okay,
right?
Jared. Yeah, you're good, buddy.
Jared's a tank, so he's gonna be fine. But
Yeah, Jared was the star of the show last time. So,
he had
didn't have
5
it-
cigars and 6 drinks.
Yeah, didn't have any problem getting through them. I was
you.
feeling a little guilty. Kept pouring for him. I was feeling a little guilty about it, but he seemed to contain composure. So I was like, if you want another one, brother, you got it.
And I was playing chess the entire time.
That's right. You guys were playing chess.
Were you winning though?
Probably not.
No, I let her beat me every time.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
He's being a gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like you guys were having fun over
Yeah,
there.
it was really good.
Beautiful. So we're gonna start with the bourbon here.
Yeah, this is the bourbon. There's a lot to say about bourbons. I mean, bourbon is kind of the American spirit. Bourbon, of course, follows in a lot of classifications within the society of what bourbon can be, and who can make it and where it comes from. So, one of the biggest misconceptions is bourbon has to come from Kentucky. And of course, that's not true. Bourbon has to come from the U.S. So I think that was in '64. They passed the law that bourbon is just a U.S.-made spirit. So,
It's only Kentucky bourbon that has to be from Kentucky, right?
Kentucky, yeah, Kentucky straight bourbon. This is Kentucky straight bourbon.
Yeah.
They'll obviously identify that as Kentucky straight bourbon when it is identified from each state. And in fact, every state in the nation now is making bourbon.
Oh wow.
So you can get bourbon from every state. And of course, Kentucky is the most popular. That is where bourbon got its start from. And of course, Bourbon County, Kentucky is kind of the home of bourbon. And Bourbon County was, a very big, beautiful, vast area. And as we traveled westward, came into the fertile belt of America, we had less and less of the wheat and the Ontario rye that was coming down, which is what we really started with, was rye whiskey. We were drinking a lot of great ryes on the eastern seaboard and into the eastern side of the U.S. And as we moved west, we kind of came into the fertile belt, and they didn't have rye as much as they had corn. So like any good alcoholic adventure, they said, well, I guess we're going to be making it out of corn. So that was where they started. Bourbon County had that beautiful bluegrass heirloom corns, and they started making whiskey out of the corn that they had. They didn't have so much of the rye or the wheat, so they put little parcels of that in there, and they came up with corn whiskeys that were distilled in Bourbon County, and those were being shipped down in barrels, as they are to this day, shipped down the Mississippi in barrels, just labeled Bourbon County whiskey, and it just became known as bourbon whiskey. That's kind of where we got it start from there. Number one law, must be made in the United States. Number two law, 51% corn.
There you go.
So this is 75% corn.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was gonna say it's not 75 proof, or 75%, I should say.
This is 100 proof.
This is not a proof.
This is 100 proof, 50%.
Really?
100 proof whiskey.
It goes down super smooth,
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
Well, that was my first comment. Is
Yeah.
very smooth. So I thought it was in the 40s,
Yeah.
but no. I mean, it's very smooth for 100 proof.
I think the high rye is even more, right? It's like 55%.
High rye is 111. Wait. 55.
No, legitimately, this is very smooth. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's smooth. I definitely taste the bite a little bit, but it goes down super smooth.
Well, you should kind of start to, flavor profiling. We're going to kind of start to get maybe some cherry notes, maybe a little bit of dehydrated fruits or some apricots kind of pushing through. A little bit of citrus notes pushing into the top of the palate there, top of the fruit palate. And then as we push up into the alcohols, we kind of 100 proof. So your 100 proof is going to be the top of your alcohol. And then generally speaking, right behind the alcohol is kind of where the barrel kicks in. The barrel is really there to soften the alcohol, to make you say, well, that's okay. Alcohol 100 proof, oh, we're okay as long as we got the barrel. I like to say this is the The barrel is the shoulders that the head of the alcohol rests upon. So if you've got, nice strong shoulders, you've got a nice cohesive whiskey, you've got a nice sweetness that comes in through the front, that's that corn. And that's why people like bourbon, is because of the sweetness and the corn. Corn brings out sweetness. We can get into some of those grains and how they affect the flavor of the whiskey.
Okay.
But corn brings out sweetness. So we have this nice sweet entry. We've got a little bit of citrus notes coming through the top, and we got an alcohol that kind of escalates it to the top of its palate. And then we've got the barrel that kind of helps bring you down and bring you back to speed with those caramels. This is all American oak. So by law, bourbon, brand new American oak. Charred white oak barrels. And really the barrel just kind of softens the finish of it. So, maybe 3/4 of the palate. Some people will say, more, maybe 85% of the palate is kind of designated to the barrel. Personally, I kind of like where a little bit of a lighter barrel represents. We're seeing a lot of whiskeys these days that have got a lot of oak to them. They're claiming 7, 8. 7's great. 8, 9, 10, 12-year barrels. And boy, I tell you, that oak influence really starts to overpower kind of the flavors of it. So, 5, 6 years on the Blue Run. So not a lot of over-the-top oak, which I like about this. It's kind of a softer style finish to it. And it gives a little bit more of an opportunity for fermentation and distillation notes to shine through.
Is that total age or just age in the oak barrels?
Yeah, the aging in the oak barrels.
Okay, yeah. And what's the total age on the bourbon?
So, it pretty much comes off of the still, when it comes off of the still, by one of the other bourbon laws. And this kind of floats around for most bourbon. One of the other bourbon laws, it cannot come off the still any higher than 160 proof.
Okay.
So 160 off the still, 125 is max into barrel. So we've got coming off the still, 160, which is your, White Lightning or your Moonshine.
Okay.
Then we'll cut it with water. That's the first cut of water. And that cut of water will take it down to 125. At 125, typically, it'll go into barrel. A lot of people are using more water and they're going into barrel at a lower number. Of course, keep in mind that the more water you add here is the less whiskey that's in the barrel.
Right, yeah.
So now you're just kind of aging water. But a lot of people do it because we put it into barrel at 15, 120, 125 max. And it sits in barrel and it ages for 5, 6, 7 years, 2 years to be called a Kentucky Straight.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that by law is another Kentucky Straight bourbon, 2 years. Basically, you can put a bourbon into a barrel and pull it directly out. As long as the liquid has contact with the barrel, it's considered a bourbon.
Gotcha. So it's not necessarily about the aging, like how much time itself. It's really just the alcohol content that kind of differentiates this from other spirits.
Well,
in
pretty
terms
much
of the process of producing it.
Yeah, not a lot of spirits are barrel aged. So, we do see some of the agaves are barrel aged with the reposados, the añejos, extra añejos. We are seeing the rums that are aged, but a lot of for the most part, whiskey is probably the most famous of the barrel aged spirits
for sure.
And it'll go into barrel at 115, 120, 125. And it'll sit in barrel and mature, and it will generally, depend upon where it's aged, but generally speaking, it'll increase in proof as it sits in the barrel due to the angel's share. The angel's share is evaporation that precipitates through the barrel. Because the barrels are super porous, and oxygen gets into the barrels as well as kind of building the proof a little bit, and then from there we'll cut it again usually, and it'll go into a bottle proof.
Okay.
So generally speaking, there's 2 cuts. There's a cut after the distillation proof, and then there's another cut after the barrel proof. And that's why a lot of people like, barrel proof whiskeys. And you've seen a lot of talk these days, and a lot of people are buying single barrels. And the single barrel idea is that we're definitely eliminating that second cut of water.
Okay. Which is why they're often more high in proof, right?
Which is exactly why they're more high in proof. And a lot of times we're seeing single barrels at 115 to 118 to 120s to as high as I've seen them as, 138.
Yeah.
Which, it's fine and dandy, but gosh, I tell you, they're, you can't drink a lot of them.
No. I remember I don't know if I bought it for a good deal or something, or someone gave it to me, but I think it was a Jack Daniel's, one of their single barrels, and that ended up being, I think, 68% alcohol.
Yeah.
And I couldn't drink it neat. I was like, I got to put it in an old fashioned or something, because it was just too much alcohol. For me, I could taste some of the flavor, but it was mainly rubbing alcohol at that point for me. So
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Our bodies are kind of used to this, especially, us, grown, mature men and our drinking, we've been drinking all for, 20, 30 years now. So our bodies become very used to, the consumption of 80 proof liquor. And, we start, 100, okay, we're good. We start drinking 115, 118, 120 proof. Our bodies just kind of go, whoa, what the hell is this? And then our fail safe for that is just, let's just make them drunk. Ultimately, you just fall back on the stool and you'll just pass out. Yeah. But it's a big fail safe for the body's mechanisms to just kind of make you drunk with it. And when we drink those, high 125s, 130 proofs, a lot of times it's kind of like our bodies just immediately are like, oh, too much. I always say the cure for that is a couple of things, and one of them might just be as simple as a cube.
Yeah.
So like one cube, but once again, as soon as you do this, you're diluting it, right? So one cube adds a little bit of coolness, cools the product down a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to drink, also adds a little bit of dilution, and a little bit of dilution helps mellow out the proof. But at that point, we're back to 80 proof and we might as well be drinking out of the bottle. Yeah. A lot of people use the little pipettes and they'll drop a couple drops of water in there to help it soften up a little bit. Water and whiskey, water and alcohol is actually, they're great friends.
Right.
And a couple drops of water into whiskeys or scotches will really help open them up.
Yeah, I know a lot of Scotch guys will do that because they really don't want that alcohol at all. They just kind of want to taste more of the flavors. They almost prefer it a little diluted.
Yeah.
Just because they want to get more of those like sweeter notes or something. Maybe the Scotch might be on the peatier side.
Yeah.
And they're not a huge fan of that. So the water drop is more common a lot with Scotch guys, I think.
Yeah. And there's something about malted barley. And malted barley really does nicely with water as well. And that's kind of the old expression of Scotch and water or Scotch on the rocks. We don't see that as much in the whiskey world, the American whiskey world, but we do see that a lot in the Scottish and the Irish as well. Yeah, Irish single malts as well. It's a little bit of water goes a long ways with those.
Absolutely. What are you guys thinking about? Are we getting intruded again? This is the second week in a row.
Oh my gosh, what's happening? What is happening?
You just show up to partake in the fun and not do any of the work.
He's our behind the scenes guy.
As long as he's doing.
What's up, buddy? I'm Phil. It's nice to meet you.
Do we have a glass for him?
He can have some. He can share with me.
Sure.
It's okay. Whoa.
You're off camera. It didn't really happen. But anyway, Zach's really interrupted us again.
Zach, let me pour you a little bit of this Blue Run bourbon just in time. We're still on our first whiskey.
Thank you, sir.
What are you looking at me for?
Plan it out like that,
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so just to kind of recap on this whiskey, this is Blue Run's Reflection number 2. This is the second in the series of the Blue Run bourbons. This is a very rich, beautiful bourbon, 75% corn. 20% rye, so it has a nice rye component to it, and then 5% barley, 75-25. And this is a blend of about 220 barrels, bottled at 100 proof. I really like the way this whiskey comes together. I think it's a great showcase for bourbon.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Jared? You were...
You're the expert.
I had a lot of it before.
You had a lot of it.
And I will again when I buy some more bottles. But I think it pairs really well with the cigar. It goes down really smooth. Not much of a kick, but a lot of strong flavor.
Yeah.
Like no burn, as I mean. but the flavor's very good.
I mean, you can taste that alcohol. The alcohol's there. It is 100 proof.
It's more of a flavor as opposed to like,
Like
all of it going
it's a
through your
little bit more
nose.
incorporated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit more incorporated to the flavor. And that's the beauty about what bourbons are, is because a bourbon is a large component of corn. And of course, when we talk about whiskeys, we talk about corn, wheat, barley, and rye. So those are the 4 grains. Those are all the 4 grains. We're seeing some, rice being used, soju style over in Japan.
Yeah.
Those are being blended in. And, but primarily corn, wheat, barley, and rye. Corn brings out the sweetness. Rye is going to bring out your spice. Wheat is going to bring out overall mellowness. And then barley is going to bring out kind of an earthiness.
Mm.
So when you get kind of a combination of those, they really kind of bring them all together. It kind of brings all the flavors together. A lot of times when we're kind of kicking back to the wines, I think whiskey is a lot like wines, like especially the wines of Bordeaux. We've got Cabernet, we've got Cabernet Franc, we've got Merlot, we've got Petit Verdot, and we've got one other one. But I can't remember right now. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But what we do in Bordeaux, and that's why the most of the Bordeaux wines, and Burgundy is the same way with the Pinot Noirs, but most of those wines are blends. That's why they label them after the area in which they're produced. And it's because they're beautiful blends and it doesn't have one grape in them. And whiskeys are the same way, where they utilize a lot of different grapes to bring about a nice flavor. And that's why Bordeaux's are as great as they are. They're really red blends. Mm-hmm. And whiskeys are pretty much all grain blends as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny too. It's like similar to cigars. You have the blender that, has to have a little bit of knowledge of what he's doing in order to get a particular blend, what he's looking for. Yeah. Meaning like he's looking for certain flavors. He knows that certain types of tobacco produce certain flavors. And like you said, depending on the percentages of each of these grains you're putting in will bring you ultimately to that final result of, do you want it on more on the sweeter side or more like a rye, you said, is more spicy.
Yeah.
So you have to have that knowledge, and I'm sure, of course, experimenting too.
Yeah.
With different percentages of everything.
Everyone seems to start off with bourbon. Bourbon is, the king. And bourbon is a very palate pleasing to a lot of people because of that high component of corn.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people really like bourbon. I like to say it's kind of, the starter drug for whiskeys.
Okay.
And really people start off with really like, a nice sweet corn bourbon, sweet mash corn bourbon at a lower proof, maybe 92 or, 88s or 87s or it's so easy drinking and it's so palate pleasing. The sweetness comes out of them, and that's why a lot of people, and a lot of females like to start off with this. But oddly enough, a lot of females really like the rye as well because of the flavor component of what rye brings to it. So interesting, but yeah, bourbon is a great way of starting off, and we kind of move in succession from the bourbons to like American blends.
Okay.
In this case, it would be a high rye blend, and then we typically move up into ryes, and then a lot of people move from ryes like up into single barrels.
Gotcha. Some do, some don't. I know Zach is more of the high proof guy. I think he still is.
He looks like he is.
You can see the pain in my eyes.
I can see that. I can see the pain in your eyes. Yeah. Well, you'll definitely appreciate our next whiskey then as we get into this. Interesting that you should bring up the blending of it because, all whiskeys are blends. And it takes a lot to be able to blend a whiskey. A lot of people, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Before you know, we've got a great blended whiskey. And I mean, essentially, that's kind of what we're doing here. But at the same time, there's a huge palate involved in this. And when you start talking about the barrels in warehouses, which is kind of what we're doing. That's what we're picking from, is we're picking barrels in warehouses. And every place in the rick house it has a different temperatures, different characteristics, different elements of sun and exposure, doors, windows, All of that stuff leads to a difference in the barrel. So I like to say that barrels are a lot like humans. Every single one of them is different. And, barrels are, again, a lot like humans, where when they're young, they've got a lot to give, a lot of energy, a lot of effort that goes into the barrels. And as barrels age, mature, they have a tendency to lighten up, and kind of the nuances of flavor start to come through. And that's why the secondary market is so big with the barrels. When we're making bourbons, brand new American oak every single time it's made. So think about the costs involved of a brand new barrel.
You can't reuse the barrels.
Can't reuse the barrels. A lot of times those barrels will be reused into other non-bourbon programs like rye or American whiskeys. A lot of times they'll be shipped overseas, and we'll see them over in Scotland.
Gotcha, yeah.
Or they'll be shipped down to Mexico or down into the Caribbean to make rum. Brand new barrels every single time. So we got a lot of barrel influence. And that's one of the things with bourbons that, get into that 12, 14 years is that, boy, that American oak really starts to shine and can be a little bit overpowering, to tell you the honest truth at times. Sometimes I taste whiskeys and I say to myself, boy, that's just got a little bit too much oak in it. Why'd they age it so long? It's great to say it's been aged for 13 years, but does the whiskey need 13 years of age?
Right, yeah. Even with cigars too, I mean, a lot of times there is a limit on how many years of aging before sometimes you can't even taste the cigar anymore. If you have a much like this cigar, for example, usually Maduros that will have a stronger strength, you can age them for longer. And if you have, like a Connecticut that's very mild, the more you age that, the less flavor you're actually going to get in the long run. So when someone hands you a cigar that's been aged for 20 plus years, it might not actually have much flavor anymore just because it's been sitting in the humidor for so long. Yeah, no, just out of curiosity, I mean, how do they age the tobacco? So the tobacco will be fermented and then aged in a dry barn usually, and they have to put X amount of moisture on it and make sure, basically maintain it for all those years for the tobacco itself. Once the cigar is actually made and, we put it in your humidor, for example, you just have to regulate that humidor at a certain humidity. So like 69% is like industry standard. Right. So as long as that humidor is at 69% humidity for however many years, that cigar is going to stay, fresh, and you can smoke it, even if it's 20, 30 years aged, it's still fine. Does the cigar continue to age even in the humidor? No, yes. So the cigar itself will age continuously as long as it's in the humidor, yes. Mm-hmm. And the flavors will kind of in the same idea, deepen and like whiskey, they'll deepen and enrich. And yes, so a lot of times you'll lose the strength over time, but the flavors will mesh together, and a lot of times you'll get more flavor or you'll get better flavors. Everyone's palate's different, but that's kind of the general consensus of how it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these whiskeys from Blue Run are all part of the Coors Whiskey portfolio. So this is Coors Brewing. And in the year 2000, they changed their name from Coors Brewing over to Coors Beverage Company. And then in the same year, they released Coors Whiskey Company. Coors Whiskey Company was, a tough road to get going. It was Pete Coors is, the kind of the patriarch of the family now. And his son, David Coors, was like, Dad, we got to make whiskey. We're really excited about the opportunity of making whiskeys. And Pete was like, son, we do one thing well. We make beer. We make beer. And it took a long time convincing, but Dave finally convinced his dad that we need to make whiskey. And they started off with some of these other whiskeys, the Five Trail and the Barman. And then in 2023, they actually purchased the Blue Run label. Very nice. Very cool. So this is a purchased brand. It is blended. We talk a little about blending, and blended by a gal. Her name's Shaylin Gammon. And she's a fantastic blender. She's getting a lot of notoriety now. She comes from the Campari group, where she did a lot of great work with Campari. And
worked with Russell's and Russell's Reserve, kind of get some blending there. And then she does the blends for Coors Whiskey Company.
Very nice.
And these are neat. As of right now, Blue Run is a non-producing brand. So they are sourcing some whiskey, mostly out of Castle and Key. So fun project where Castle and Key, of course, was the old Colonel Taylor distillery.
Gotcha. Okay.
Down in Frankfurt. After it had kind of gone defunct, Buffalo Trace bought the name. The distillery kind of went defunct and sat vacant for a while. This was in the 50s and 60s. And it really went to a state of disarray. And then it had been, it was at that point gone through a lot of conversions with other people that had come in and try to refurbish the idea and bring distillation back to the old Taylor distillery. And it took a long time. And Castle and Key finally bought it. They put a shit ton of money into it and finally got distillation back up and running. And 2016, 2017, my numbers might be off. Anyways, Jim Rutledge came in to do some contract distilling. And Jim Rutledge did a bunch of great distillation products. And that's where all of these are. So these are all Jim Rutledge distilled Castle and Key whiskeys. We bought the whole lot of them, and that's what we've been blending ever since.
Very nice.
Obviously, when our new distillery, which hails out of Georgetown, so this will come from Georgetown, Kentucky, and we'll be blending to this style of a whiskey.
Very nice.
And Georgetown is super cool. A lot of people think that Georgetown is kind of the home of bourbon. That's where Elijah Craig founded. And that's where his whiskeys came from, was from Georgetown. And Elijah Craig hails out of Georgetown. He was the first Baptist minister of the Blue Run Ministries. Blue Run is the name itself is kind of a nickname for the Royal Spring. There's a spring there in Georgetown called the Royal Spring.
Okay, yeah.
And the Royal Spring, of course, feeds the water for the city at the time as well as for distillation. And the locals know the Royal Spring as the Blue Run. Where are you going to join us at the Blue Run? Oh, we're going to be at blah, blah, blah street on the Blue Run. So the locals know it as Blue Run, and it's an affectionate name for Georgetown, and people know Blue Run for that name. And that's where the name came from.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, fun story.
You guys ready for round number 2 of the Blue Run Trail, the Blue Run River? Here, I'll lift
The Blue Run.
the Blue Run. Here, you can do a little pour of that one.
Yeah, this is the high rye. This is another bourbon. This is a high rye bourbon. So really unique style of coming into bourbons. We'll talk a little bit about it when we all get in the glass. Ready for some?
Now, what's the difference between a high rye and a regular rye?
Yeah, good question. There's a couple different interpretations of where we can go with this one. And I'll say the high rye. Thank you. This is a high rye bourbon. So this still falls into the bourbon category. And we'll say that it's a high rye bourbon because it has a nice component of rye. This is a 65-35. So 65 being corn still pushes our bourbon category, right? Because 51% in the bourbon world. And this is 60%. So this is 60% corn, and then it's 65% corn, and then it's got a nice 30% rye. So generally speaking, ryes are, 20 or so percent of bourbons. We like to bring out the rye because, as we talked about, the corn brings out the sweetness, the rye brings out the spiciness. And the spicy ryes is what people really love. That's why people love the ryes.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to get a little bit more into that as we get into the ryes. But this is a high rye bourbon. So we'll call it a high rye bourbon because it has a large component of rye in comparison to most other bourbons.
Gotcha. Okay. Mm-hmm. And right off the bat, it's definitely got more spice than the bourbon.
Yeah.
But still, and for being, at 55% as well, it is still very smooth. and you're just kind of experiencing more of that spice on the palate. It's really not too much heat.
Yep.
You're just kind of tasting it, and it's
Like
enjoyable.
The kick
smooth.
is just from the flavor.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not burning my nose or all over my tongue. It goes down smooth.
The integration of this whiskey, I think, is fantastic. A lot of people, when we taste the bourbon, they're like, yeah, it's a bourbon. It's nice. It's good bourbon. It's nice proof. It's got good barrel. It's got great notes to it. It's, a good bodied bourbon. A lot of people, when we get into, like my bourbon enthusiasts, and we get into the high rye, a lot of people say, this is where this whiskey comes together. And this is I think this is kind of this is a bourbon drinker, like real experienced bourbon drinker. This is their kind of style of whiskey. Bottled at 111 proof. So it holds itself really well. There's a lot of great barrel in there. Again, 5-6 years of age, but a nice blend. This is a constant with Blue Run. So this will always be produced. Of course, the Reflection bourbon will change series. Devin McKenney kind of does the bottle design as well. He happens to be from Nike, and he did the design for Air Force One. And like the idea of Air Force One, they're always going to come out with some new styles and new releases. And that was the philosophy that we brought over into these whiskeys as well, is that the bourbon will continue to have new releases. And so this release of the Reflection 2 is fantastic. I do like I love the Reflection 1, but the Reflection 2 I think is fantastic. And so the Reflection will continue to change. The rye, the Emerald rye, will also continue to change as series, but the high rye bourbon, I think we're going to kind of see that one as a constant.
Gotcha. Okay. And question two questions really about the butterfly. What is the story behind the butterfly logo?
Sure. Yeah.
And then two, actually, you can kind of answer both. They're different colors here. So are these all intentional? Like, for example, this is always going to be silver on the rye. This is always going to be kind of like a rainbow-esque color on the high rye.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, the butterfly, this came out in 2020. So
Okay.
Blue Run was 2020, group of investors, entrepreneurs, restaurateurs kind of developed this brand. They really kind of wanted to take bourbon to the next level, kind of unique in its bottle shape. I don't know if you've seen this style of a bottle shape before.
Not often, no.
They really kind of had an idea that they kind of wanted to make change. And they wanted to kind of bring about some new ideas, a new way of thinking about whiskeys. And the butterfly, which is the Viceroy butterfly, which is very close to the monarch. The Viceroy is in the family of the monarch, and it's also the state butterfly of Kentucky.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's where the butterfly comes from. But the butterfly also represents metamorphosis and a change and a new way of looking at things. And that was kind of a big thing that we were going through in 2020.
Yeah, great point.
And excuse me. Everyone was, coming through COVID, and, we were all looking at things a little bit different back in those days. And that was kind of the philosophy that they wanted to go forward with is that the butterfly represents a cool change and a cool new way of looking at things and kind of a new attitude. And the different colors, the sterling silver butterfly is always going to be on the Reflection. This is the bourbon with the silver butterfly. The high rye has the iridescent butterfly. So that'll always have the iridescent butterfly and then the green chrome on the rye. And then they have some special select stuff that they do with some very cool different butterflies. And if you follow the Blue Run Spirits online or on Instagram, you'll see that they have all kinds of great cool butterfly variations that they've done with these great logos and symbols. I actually pop the butterflies off the bottles.
Oh yeah.
When I'm done with my samples, I pop the butterflies off and recycle the bottles. But I got a whole collection of butterflies now. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with them.
That's my next question. Yeah.
Figure something to do with them.
Yeah, we did that with like a monkey shoulder. They have the monkeys on there.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of do the same thing, like put a little heat on there and pop them off.
Yeah.
That's
It's
great though.
silly
That
monkeys.
you guys have that intention behind the design down to the butterfly, the different colors, the story of metamorphosis and everything, and the timing of 2020.
Yeah.
So it's cool that there is that intention behind the branding.
Yeah, they had really put some thought into this, and even the distillery that is in proposed in drawing architectural stages, the drawings of the distillery is absolutely beautiful. It's meandering over the hillside from one side of the hill over to the other and back and forth. It kind of looks like a big snake through the countryside there in Georgetown, and really just super Art Deco and very cool. We're used to seeing these old dusty rick houses and, old stills, which I love, by the way. You go to Woodford Reserve and you see those old Forsyth stills and, these big, beautiful copper pot stills and this stone brick warehouses with, layers and layers of barrels and, all under, a natural air. It's just fantastic to see that stuff. But they're kind of looking at a new approach of this and trying to kind of change things around.
No, absolutely. I mean, in the industry where, you have all these different brands that are more mainstream, more widely recognized.
Right.
The best thing you can do, of course, is do whatever you can to stand out,
right.
Whether it's the shape of the bottle, which is probably one of the most obvious for people that look at the shelf. And, most bottles you have something similar to right here, the Barman.
Yeah.
That straight up kind of skinnier bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So just that alone to kind of stand out, the butterfly, help you stand out a little bit.
Yeah, there's a couple ways of standing out. We start talking about retail shelves. There's a couple ways of standing out, and usually it's tall, but nowadays we're seeing short and squatty, and that's kind of where these bottles have kind of capitalized that market, is in a little bit shorter, squattier style bottles. If you notice, their profile is a little bit wider than when you put them together. There's a big gap between them. So they do take up a little bit more of a profile. We call this a billboard effect.
Yeah.
When you put all three of the bottles together on a shelf, they kind of will catch your eye.
Yeah, stands out.
They stand out a little bit more. Interesting note on the monkey shoulder. Those three monkeys on there represent each of the distillery.
Oh, really? I know.
Ah.
Monkey Shoulder is a blended single malt whiskey, fantastic whiskeys, but it's from William Grant. And William Grant has Glenfiddich, Balvenie, and Glencanevi. Those are the three distilleries that they own. And Monkey Shoulder is a blend of those three distilleries.
Nice.
And I don't know if you know even about the Monkey Shoulder, but that's the crick in your shoulder that you get from flipping grain.
Oh.
That's what it appropriately it's called is, with single malts. We trick the malt, we trick the grain into malting. And that grain is, of course, barley. And that single malted barley. And it's barley. We bring it in. We soak it in water. Once that barley is soaked in water, it starts the conversion. And that conversion is called the malting. But when we soak it in water, we trick the grain into thinking that it's spring. And it converts its starches into sugars.
Gotcha.
So now we have fermentable sugars. But once the grain is wet, we can't really use it. We have to grind it. So we can't grind it when it's wet. So we want to dry it out. So we take all that wet grain and we throw it out on a screened floor. Usually it's on the second floor. And we throw it out on the floor. We light a fire underneath it. And that fire is usually a peat fire. Peat moss. And that peat moss fire has got a lot of great heat to it, but it's also got a lot of smoke. And that smoke and the heat will rise up through the screen and it'll warm the grain. That will also help in the malting process. That's basically where the malting process comes from, is that conversion of the starches to sugars. And then because the grain is wet on top and a little bit drier on the bottom, the guys go in with shovels and they turn the grain over. And as they turn the grain over, they use the old shovel. It's kind of like a snow shovel. And they turn the grain over. And after years of flipping grain, they get this little crick in their shoulder. It's called a monkey shoulder.
Wow.
That's where that name comes from.
That's interesting. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah. And that's also where the peated aspect comes in. Nowadays, we're using industrial style dryers with dry air that dry it, which imparts a really clean style of scotch. But in the olden days, they would light that peat moss, and they still do it, of course, down on the islands. That peat moss then would not only send the warmth up, but we'd get a lot of smoke, and that smoke would enter into the grain, and that's where the smoky grain comes from in the island style. But there's a big difference between Highland smoke and island smoke.
Gotcha.
So Highland, of course, is a very classic area for making, the beautiful Speyside scotches of Scotland. Speyside is a beautiful area, but they don't impart a lot of smoke. They're a little bit drier in their style, as opposed to the islands where you get a little bit more iodine and saline and maritime influence, as well as using the peat moss down there. So you get a little bit more peaty iodine style down in the islands as you do up in the Highlands, but a completely different style. Even Highland does some smoking as well. And the Highland smoke, if you can find a very nice, in fact, Balvenie does a peat week where every year before they clean the stills, they throw a bunch of peat in there and they do a peat distillation and they do a 14-year peat week. I think it's still 14-year peat week. And the smoke that comes out of the Highland is a completely different smoke that comes from the island. And I like to say it's, Highland smoke versus island smoke. So it's Highlands versus islands, and really fun process. But I love all those scotches, man. I tell you, they're fantastic.
Man, I learned so much already.
Yeah.
I'm glad we brought a real expert on to talk to us about all this. This is great. Yeah, I'm sure like people watching too. Like, and that's the thing is like with the monkey shoulder example, I never thought to ask the question like, what is monkey shoulder? Why is it called that?
Where does the name come from?
We just know it tastes good.
Yeah, exactly.
It tastes fantastic.
That's really what I'm worried about at the end of the day is how does it taste?
And what were the other brands that are associated with monkey shoulder? They're all owned by the same company. You said Balvenie as well.
Where they source them from, yeah.
Yeah, Balvenie is another one. Glenfiddich is another one.
Yeah.
And that's all part of the William Grant portfolio. And they also have Tullamore
Nice.
out of Irish whiskeys, beautiful Irish whiskeys out of Ireland as well. Fantastic stuff. What do you guys think of the high rye?
I really like it. I mean,
I like it too.
Jared, I know this is your favorite.
Zach likes it too.
Yeah,
He
Zach
thinks it's
likes it
good.
too.
What do you think? Which one's your preference? Do you think probably the high rye?
Yeah.
The second
one?
Yeah,
Second one.
second one
Yeah,
high
the
rye.
smell is phenomenal. Like the aroma. The
What about you,
flavor.
Mark? Which one did you prefer?
Probably the high rye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. I would go with the high rye. Me personally, I think you gave a great example. It's like the bourbon is like your safe bet.
Yeah.
That's like kind of the standard for bourbon, and then when you go to the high rye, it's like you said, kind of more for the experienced whiskey bourbon guy.
Yeah.
Get a little more heat off that, a little more different flavors. No, I really enjoy that one as well. Jared's gonna, for the first time, the purple Colada, which is one of the smaller sizes from Sampere.
Yeah, that's a little one, huh?
Almost like a Lancero.
Yeah, it's like a
mini,
short Lancero
like a
kind
mini
of.
Lancero.
Shit, you'll have that thing down in 5 minutes.
No, I'll take my time.
That's a 5-minute cigar.
I'm shocked. He's taking his time with both the cigars and the whiskey today. It's like, I don't know what's going on here.
Just really like taking time to enjoy the flavors. So I think I'll enjoy this.
He's
as
maturing.
well.
Well, maybe a little bit.
What do you think of the Besa Habano?
Oh, this is fantastic.
Good.
It's smoking wonderfully, too. I really love the flavors on this. And, nutty and the coconut and the kind of the
Coconut, huh?
mocha. Yeah, it's like some great flavors that kind of pass through here. Spices.
That's the first time I've heard coconut. And, I mean, mocha I could see because that's coffee and cocoa are some of the notes you pick up off there. So mocha, I guess, or mocha is a good way to kind of put those two together.
We get a lot of mocha flavors like in whiskeys as well, kind of push through into those. As we push into that vanilla into the barrel, we get a lot of kind of mocha flavors that kind of push through there as well. So mocha seems to be something that's always on the top of my mind. A lot of times I have these flavors, preconceived flavors in my brain that I'm already kind of ready to start tasting. I know right up front we're going to get our fruits. So they're usually like, oranges, apricots, maybe some dehydrated fruits in there, dehydrated apricot, peaches, We then move up into kind of citrus notes. Cherries kind of play in that note as well. So a lot of cherry type flavors. I think I get a lot of cherry in the Blue Run
The first one.
bourbons.
Yeah.
I do get some cherry
Sure.
in that. I think all of these have a little note of cherry in them. But yeah, generally speaking, kind of those front notes are your fruits. So
Yeah.
typical in that area. As we rise through our fruit palette, as we escalate into our alcohols, we move into citrus notes, and most of the time it's maybe a little hint of lime, or that's kind of where that orange starts to push into citrus. And it's lime or maybe some other type of citrus note, and then usually right from there we peak up into our alcohol, and that's usually the echelon, the top notch that we hit is as we build up to our alcohol. It's kind of top note is alcohol, and it's always there to make us kind of catch our breath. And then right behind the alcohol, the barrel should be there, and the barrel should kind of hold you up and maybe give you a pat on the shoulder just to let you know it's okay. Everything's going to be okay.
It is.
I know we got a lot of alcohol.
It gets
here.
better in the second sip.
Everything's fine. It's, the barrel then usually brings us right up into those vanilla notes, toffee notes. Depending upon the oak and where you're coming from, sometimes we're getting butterscotch notes with French oak. We get a lot of different Musanera oaks kind of finishing with a little bit of herbal notes. But then, from those sweet oak notes, and then we get into the spicy notes, barrel spice, kind of baking spices, and then kind of leather and tobacco on the finish. That's kind of a nice escalate of where our whiskey palate is.
Gotcha. And I will say, too, in terms of pairing with the base of Maduro, the whiskey has been bringing out more of the oaky notes in this cigar specifically. So a lot of times you get more, for this cigar specifically, you get a balance of some sweetness and some of the woodiness. But for me, this experience right now is more on the woody side, that oakiness. So it's very interesting to kind of taste this cigar in a new way, thanks to the bourbon.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it's all about, right? I mean, the oakiness of the whiskeys really kind of accentuate, or vice versa, the oakiness or the aging of the tobacco leaf as well. And Maduros are just great to pair with those flavors and kind of bring them around.
Absolutely. I'll send you home with a Maduro before you leave, too. That way you can experience that.
Yeah. That's funny. I used to have a collection of cigars. I still smoke a lot of cigars. When I was in Nashville, that was where I was doing the food and wine dinners, was in Nashville. And funny thing about it is my best friend was the cigar aficionado at a place there in Nashville. And I would go up there to see him after work, and he was always like, Phil, smoke this. Phil, smoke this. So I keep all my rings. Just because that's what I do. Yeah. I keep all my rings. And boy, I tell you, I got this big ass jar.
Yeah, that's what we got right over there in the corner.
Right. Yeah, it's a big ass jar too. I got a big ass jar, and I started throwing rings in there, thinking I'm never going to fill this thing. Well, fucking 10 years later.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with all the, every time I buy wine, I keep all the corks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you can make a cork board or something.
Maybe I can, yeah. I have enough of them.
You can start collecting butterflies now, too, and maybe you can make like a cork backboard and then put the butterflies on there.
There you
make
go.
a little
There we
portrait.
Starman surrounding it.
Yeah.
Oh my
order.
God. Trifecta.
Yeah, fantastic. The high rye bourbon, that rye really shines through nicely. You get those spicy notes that come through. Nice at 111, it's like I don't really feel that alcohol. I think it just kind of is so harmonious with the fruits and the spice there that as you come up through that alcohol note, the barrel just kind of really sets itself nicely in there. So this to me is a fantastic whiskey, and
I think so.
Great price point. These all retail, for about $100.
It's not bad.
You can find the high rye probably for, about 100, 109. The bourbon has a tendency to be, a little bit more than that, and the rye maybe just about that as well. But, for $100, that's kind of where I want to be. It's $100 is kind of my cut point for whiskeys. I love, whiskeys that right around that price point is just, you seem to get a good quality value. For
right. Yeah. I mean, when you're paying that price point, it's like, at least you should get some good value out of that. You can go into the liquor store and buy your $30 bottles, which are great. But with this, that there's a lot of effort that's been put into it, and there's like I was saying earlier, a lot of intention into this product. Yeah. Not just the branding and everything, but the whiskey itself.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this whiskey. A lot of people just look at it on the shelf and they see another pretty bottle, but really the structure behind the brand is very intense. And just kind of getting it start. Coors Whiskey purchased this in 2023. Yeah. So they hired me last year. So at the end of 2024, I started working with this brand, and I've been working this brand for almost a year now. And October it'll be a year. And I tell you, I love talking about this brand. I love talking to people about it. Everyone is kind of intrigued by the bottles and the shapes and the designs and the butterflies, and it's just a fun whiskey to talk about. There's so much aspect to it as well.
Yeah, the name's unique, the bottles are unique, the story behind it's super unique. So
and I can just talk for hours about it. It's like,
which is great for a podcast. It's like, all right, thank God this guy knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. It's always
long format, right?
So as we're gonna pour some of the Emerald here. What's kind of the story behind the Emerald in terms of the branding of it?
Well, we talked about rye. Generally speaking, green labels, green represents rye. So a lot of times when you look on the shelf and you see green labels, that's their rye. That's their rye.
I never thought about that, but now that you say it, I can kind of think of a few bottles where it's like, oh yeah, they actually incorporate green in there.
Yeah, the bourbons have a tendency to be red. American whiskeys have a tendency to be blue, and rye whiskeys have a tendency to be green. And rye is a really unique grain. It's kind of what we started with as America. Of course, when we settled in, the Pennsylvania Dutch area, and as we expanded from there, the grain that was coming down through that area was all Ontario rye. And to this day, still the most beautiful rye is the Ontario rye. And America kind of grew up on rye whiskey. And it took a while for us to, and you know what? This was the 1700s, end of the 1700s. And, rye whiskey at that time was just really tough. It was.
So what's the blend percentage breakdown on this one?
Yeah. So this is fantastic. When we start talking about high rise versus low rise. Yeah. And, by law, if you're going to call it a rye, we're going to need to stick with those parameters, 51% rye. So 51% rye is where our standards start with rye. It's the same standards that start, of course, with bourbon, but it's the same standard if we have a weeded whiskey. If we're going to name something as that particular grain, it has to generally have 51% of that grain. So at least 51% rye. Now, remember, rye is what brings out that spicy note. So a lot of people like rye for that spicy character. Yes. But rye is easily manipulated with corn. So what ends up happening is corn is being as sweet as it is. Spiciness kind of holds itself in the middle to the top of the palate. Sweetness holds itself right in the front of the palate. So, you add, let's say we have a 51% rye, and let's say we're going to distill a rye and it's going to be 60% rye. Well, we're going to throw some corn over the top of that. It's probably going to be like, 45% corn, and then maybe a little bit of wheat or barley left in there. What ends up happening is the corn is such a sweet component that it overpowers the spice of the rye. So it's kind of an unfortunate thing that a lot of people, and we in the industry would break these down into what we call low rise versus high rise. And low rise have a tendency to be, 55, 60, 63, 65% rye. And high rise have a tendency to be like 80, 90, 100% rise. And there's a big difference because inevitably what you're pushing over the top of that rye is usually corn. And corn is so intrusive that it has a tendency to cover up the nuances of what rye can represent. So this is an 80% rye. So 80% rye, 12% corn, and 8% barley. So I call this 80-12-8. 80-12-8. generally speaking, it's your corn is first, so it should be called 12. Rye is second, 80, and then wheat or barley finalized. So it should be 1288. But I like to emphasize the fact that it's an 80% high rye, so 80% rye, 12% corn, 8% barley, and this is bottled at 109 proof, 109, and this is the Emerald 2.
So I took a few sips and a few puffs of the cigar, and I legitimately tasted like sweet corn when I kind of combined the two, which I've never actually tasted before when smoking a cigar or drinking whiskey. But this combination together, I legitimately get like a sweet corn kind of flavor.
I got your sweet corn right up in front.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's right enjoyable. There, right up in front with the cigar, and then it really quickly pops up to that spice.
Yeah.
That spice is fantastic. I love ryes. When Whistle Pig first came out, like that rye was. Oh yeah, that's what set me off. I mean, that was it.
Yeah, Whistle Pig is great in general.
We were drinking ryes. We were drinking ryes as blends, and all of a sudden, Dave Pickerel, God rest his soul, decided that he's gonna make a rye, and he's gonna make a rye 100 proof, 100%, and we call that 110 because it's 100% rye, 100 proof, at 10 years of age. And ryes are very finicky to work with. And in fact, Dave Pickerel even said it first, was that ryes, they don't have the enzymes that corn and that wheat do. So a lot of times when we have ryes, we do like 95% rye, 5% barley. Barley has a lot of enzymes. So we use barley a lot of times for just bringing the enzymes in that help in the fermentation. So a lot of times, and in fact, with a lot of whiskeys, we do like a 95.5. It's a very typical, it's an MGP blend. Bardstown is doing a similar blend. But we're doing a 95% rye, 5% barley. We add that 5% barley because it helps in the fermentation, and it really helps with the inoculation. And when Dave said that he did the 100% rye, he said it was the most difficult thing he had to work with. He had to drop enzymes into it. He didn't know how much to add. And at one time, he said it foams up when it ferments. And he said at one time they added the fermentation. They started watching it. They added the yeast, started watching the fermentation. It was doing well. They said, okay, let's go home for the night, let it ferment overnight. They came home. They came back to the distillery the next day, and the foam had overwhelmed the entire distillery, had overflowed the fermentation vat, and there was just like 3 feet of foam all over the floor.
Jeez, wow.
And but ryes are really unique because you need a little something in there to kind of help with the fermentation, and generally speaking, we have a little bit of corn in there just to kind of help it out. But we'll call this one a high rye.
Gotcha.
Being at 80%. So this is a high rye. And at 109 proof, I think this is 109.7. And I think this one just kind of hits it just right. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect.
What I like about it is it's actually on the sweeter side too. So, I mean, I'm not a huge rye guy.
Yeah.
But this is a really good rye. And I do like it when they do allow that sweetness to come through. I think it's really great. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm actually not a big rye guy either, but this one's pretty nice. I do taste that sweet corn in the beginning, and then I feel like I get a little bit of citrus in the aftertaste.
Yeah. Yeah, typically with ryes, you get a little bit of citrus notes that do come through. That's very typical.
Once again, there's like no bite in the beginning at all, but the aroma, the smell right off it's really sweet, I would say, but going down, it's super smooth too.
Yeah, no,
it's no bite at all, but the spice is still there, but in flavor, not in like actual burning. But
no, it's really good. The Emerald might be my favorite just because I feel like it's kind of a happy medium between the two, actually.
This is kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's surprising to me, like as spicy or as higher proof that ryes have a tendency. It's like the female palate just seems to really just akin to this type of a flavor profile.
Are you saying I have a female palate?
That's what I heard too. No, I wasn't gonna say anything, but that's what I heard.
Finally, someone said it. We've all been thinking it.
Oh man!
A lot of times people tell me that Oh, I love whiskeys. Oh, I love all whiskeys. Oh, you love all whiskeys. Here, let me start you off with a rye. Oh no, I don't drink ryes. And I'm like, how can you say that you love all whiskeys but you don't drink ryes? It's like, no, you got to drink them all. It's kind of like saying, I always give the expression. It's kind of like saying you love all Porsches but you don't like the Cayenne. It's like, how can you say that? You can't until you can express them all.
Yeah.
I also will say that. A lot of times whiskeys are like, cars in your garage. And hear me out here. And that's a weird path we're going down, but each one of them serves a different purpose. We have, maybe we have like, the sedan that, we have a family hauler or a minivan and we take all the kids in and the whole family and, we take road trips. A lot of times we have like, a sports car that we want to take out on the track and it's great on the track and handling. And then a lot of times we have, like a truck that's super utilitarian that we can throw bricks in there, Christmas tree in the back of. Each one of those cars has kind of a unique profile and a unique difference. Whiskeys are the same way. Each one of them has a real unique style to them. They're unique to that style in itself. Like if you tasted ryes and you just went on a rye kick and you tried just different ryes, you're going to find that they all have kind of an underlining backbone of the same style, but they're all uniquely different. Kind of in the same, you might have a Chevy, you might have a Ford, or you might have something, they're all kind of the same, but they're all a little bit different. That's what I like about them.
No, exactly. I mean, everyone's got their commuter and then they want their sports car, something that's more fun. I think it's a great example. And yeah, like you're saying, I mean, if you just have, it's like cigars too. We don't just smoke the same cigar. I mean, Jared did for a while, but we got him off that. But you can't just have the same cigar over and over again. It's like you got to try something new. You got to switch it up.
Yeah.
Scotch. Well, yeah. I mean, anything.
We got him off the Scotch too.
Oh, we got him off of Scotch. Yeah. Branching out a little bit, which is why you enjoy Blue Runs so much now.
It's true, but I still love my Scotch.
Don't ever stop loving Scotch. Scotch
amazing.
is fantastic.
Well, like you said, you got to have a different car for every occasion.
I could be the guy that says I love all whiskey.
I love all whiskey.
I really have. Yeah, exactly. I haven't really had a whiskey that I could say I hated. Yeah. Maybe liked less.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And they're also uniquely different. And nowadays, ryes are unique because we're seeing a lot of unique manipulation with ryes as well, where this is all American oak, but like we're seeing ryes now kind of counteracting that spice with secondary barrel aging. So we'll add, finish it in an American oak as we do, sometimes use, sometimes ex-bourbon barrel. We'll, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in that. And then we'll drop rye into a finishing barrel, i.e. a sherry cask. Or a Madeira barrel, or in Angel's Envy's case, what do we do? A rum barrel. So a lot of times what we're doing here is we've realized that people aren't so into that rich over-the-top spice. So we'll take it and we'll age it, and then we'll finish it in a barrel that kind of helps soften it down a little bit. And we'll put it in a sherry oak barrel, and that sherry will kind of give it a little bit of a sweet tail down at the backside of it. And finishing barrels are really unique for aging ryes. We're seeing more and more ryes finished in different type of sweet oak barrels that kind of really soften the whiskey down a little bit and make it a little bit more palate pleasing.
Yeah, makes sense. And now we've talked for quite a bit about Blue Run, but we do have a few other bottles sitting here.
Yeah.
5 Trail. Tell us a little bit about the 5 Trail. Tell us about the Barman. We'll get a little more into that.
Yeah, sure. The 5 Trail. This is I can't say enough about 5 Trail. Honestly, it's a very simple story, but the reality of it is this is a super complex whiskey. 5 Trail, this is Coors Whiskey's original product. This was a blended whiskey that we first did. Coors is uniquely situated where as Coors is, as far as a beer is concerned, is a barley beer, right? Coors is made from 100% barley. And barley beers are very unique. A lot of times, we take weeded bourbons, or I'm sorry, weeded beers. But Coors is unique with this 100% barley in their beer. So they are the biggest purchasers as well as malters of barley in the United States. So they malt a shit ton of barley. for their beer. And subsequently, there are some distilleries that actually do purchase a nice little bit of fermented barley, or I'm sorry, just malted barley already from Coors. So Coors has kind of had their foot in the whiskey industry for quite some time, providing people with malted barley for their whiskeys. It takes a lot to buy bushels of barley and to hold it to offer maybe 3 or 5% of the barley in their whiskey. So a lot of times people just will buy it with it already malted, and they'll use it to make their whiskeys. And this Five Trail is unique that way, where they've looked at some outside sources. So this is a blend, blended American whiskeys. So this doesn't really fall into any of the typical whiskey categories. This kind of falls into an American whiskey category. American whiskeys kind of have their hands untied. They can do a little bit more manipulation. They can bring other blends in, and that's exactly what we've done here. I like to say that there's 5 trails that lead to this whiskey. So the first trail is, this is a blended whiskey, and this is mostly all sourced. So this is a Bardstown 4-grain whiskey, which is a fantastic product that Bardstown produces. It's an MGP, Midwest grain product. Midwest does fantastic whiskeys. They have a wheated bourbon. So 4-grain out of MGP, wheated bourbon out of 4-grain out of Bardstown, wheated bourbon out of MGP. There is a 13-year undisclosed bourbon in here, which kind of helps hold and support that whiskey. And then there's a single malt that's pushed through the center of this. And those are the 4 trails of whiskey. The 5th trail is the water that they bring into this. So let's taste a little bit of this.
Okay, sure, yeah. And you bring up Bardstown. I mean, really, we learned about them, 2 years ago, or maybe last year. We really got introduced to them. We were up in Michigan, and a lot of the cigar lounges up there are carrying Bardstown and a lot of different bottles from them.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, every time we go up, there's a new bottle on the shelf there. So it's a great brand, great company.
They probably have a dozen SKUs of whiskey.
At least, yeah. No, seriously.
Not to mention a beautiful facility, a lot of bottling as well. So a lot of people bottle out of Bardstown. In fact, all of the Blue Run is bottled in Bardstown.
I know I'm not on the mic, but for Bardstown,
yeah.
When I was just in Michigan, they made a specialty bottle for. That's as far as it goes.
Oh, okay.
Get on in there.
So when I was in Michigan, they made a specialty bottle, or a specialty batch of Bardstown for Churchill cigars. And as soon as I walked into Churchill's, I told Vince, one of the partners / manager there, I'm like, hey, do you remember that whiskey that you gave me last time to try? He's like, the Bardstown? I'm like, I think so, man. You got to show me the bottle. Show me the bottle. He had 1 sip left. He's like, you know what? It's yours. Take it. Best sip of my life. He's like, next time. It's a very good, brand, but yeah, that's my story.
That's
He's sticking by it.
Thanks
I
for
love
that.
it. Stick to it. It's a great story.
You got yours?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
So one of the things I think you're going to get out of this, did you get some? Everybody get some?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it?
Okay, good. This is a 95 proof whiskey. So
yeah, after everything we've had, it's
Lighter.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but what you're going to get in this one is this is more of a flavor profile.
Yeah,
so you're really going to get some of those lighter whiskeys. I get these lighter style whiskeys right up front. I get that richness of the 13-year through the top of the center palate, and then right in the center palate where the alcohol comes in is where that single malt kind of comes in. This is actually from Stranahan's, pretty well known. But Stranahan's gets all of their malted barley from Coors. And that Stranahan kind of bridges the gap between the bourbon whiskeys up front. And as you move through the alcohol and into the barrel, you get this kind of single malt bridge, as I call it. And that single malt just kind of helps support the alcohol, but yet helps support the whiskey on the front, and really finesses nicely into to the barrel on the backside.
It's very smooth. Cheers.
Jared, I'm curious to see what you think of this one.
Definitely big on flavor.
Big on flavor.
What do you think, Mark?
I like it a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I think I'm a more fan of the lower proof whiskeys, though. So,
Well, yeah, you're a Scotch
Because
guy
of
too.
the
Yeah.
smoothness.
yeah.
Yeah, it does go down pretty easy. The smell's pretty good.
I just like the structure of this whiskey. There's just a lot of complexity through it. I think you like I said, you kind of get that lightness of that weeded and the 4 grain kind of up front, and then the richness of that 13-year through the center palate. And,
I would say I took 2 sips, and the first one doesn't burn, but kind of goes to my nose a little bit.
Yeah.
Opens things up.
Yeah.
But the taste is phenomenal. So
this is the sleeper in the group. I can tell you that. But it drinks wonderfully, and it's great. It's completely unknown. So, a lot of people are stuck on bourbons or ryes, and they don't really look at this category. And this category is the thing that I like about American whiskeys is it's all, hands untied. So this really gives the opportunity for blenders and for whiskey enthusiasts to kind of come together on a really cool flavor and do some unique things and offer some really unique flavors that you don't always get with bourbons and with ryes, because they have to stick to such a structure. This kind of is a hands-off structure.
So you could say that the American whiskeys, they have the freedom to kind of do different things compared to other spirits.
Yeah, there's not so many laws that are put on to American whiskeys. It has a tendency to kind of open up the door for experimentation. And that's where we see a lot of that. In fact, even when I was with shout out to Heaven's Door, but they had a double barrel bourbon. It was a blend of 2 bourbons and a rye that were, all aged independently. It was blended together, and then it was rebarreled on a brand new American oak. And it really gave the chance for the whiskey blender to kind of put together some cool flavors and cool aspects of what that whiskey was. Bottled at 100 proof. That was a fantastic whiskey, as is this one. And it just drinks so nicely. And this is a whiskey drinker's whiskey. Just like, the guy that just let me get something that's great. It's got great flavor to it and great attribute.
What are the price points on these bottles relatively?
Not so bad. These are in the probably float. I would say probably on the American whiskey is probably going to retail for about $65.
Okay.
$65.99, somewhere around there. The single barrel is probably going to push closer to $69.99 on the retail shelves. But this one, the single barrel, this is a 5-trail single barrel, barrel proof. I'm sorry, they call it. Not single barrel, but barrel proof, which basically means that it's a blend of whiskeys that's then doesn't have that secondary cut to it. So this whiskey is fantastic, and we'll kind of roll into that one. But this is really complex and a lot of unique flavors to it, being a barrel proof. And whiskey of the world last year, 2024. This one whiskey of the world in one of the categories there, and it has seen a lot of great notoriety. But once again, it's kind of a sleeper whiskey. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, let's do it. For sure. And I think the great thing about, and yeah, we can get into it. We'll try and wrap it up here soon. And we're almost an hour and a half in, so.
It happens easily.
Yeah, I know it does. And very informative. But the thing about whiskeys versus cigars is, like, let's say you're paying, $65, $70 for a bottle, or even $100 for a bottle. You get at least, 15 drinks out of that.
Sure.
A cigar, you're going to spend, like a good cigar, maybe $15 for a besa or something like that. That's one time.
Yeah, right.
So, you get your money's worth out of a bottle of whiskey. So we got 2 heavy pours over here. You can
be careful on this one. You
go very light on this one.
Barrel proof.
These glasses are smaller. In all fairness.
This one's at 116 too. So
Easy money, you said. Yeah, Zach's going to be just fine.
20 and up guy.
Oh, okay, so we
High
haven't met
proof
your
guy.
standards yet. He said 120 and up guy.
a lot of people
Different
are
smell.
that way.
Different smell on this
I
one.
make liquor, and the liquor that I make, I usually keep around like 120. That's like my happy spot.
Do you barrel age it?
No, so I haven't yet. So I make a traditional Albanian liquor. It's more of a brandy.
Yeah.
It's plum based. So,
Oh, yeah.
You ferment plums. Oh no, he filled me up already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you got it.
You want to take a look at it?
Zach's talking about his
Sign
Raki.
everything. Well,
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So I make it's Albanian brandy called Raki.
Oh, yeah.
So you ferment the plums, distill it, and I've had aged ones before, but I haven't personally aged it because I haven't found a barrel that I liked. So, I
Yeah,
will.
find some cool barrels. Did you get that into?
Yeah, one of our buddies has a cigar lounge over here in Sanford, and I've asked him.
Yeah, Celery City. He's done an event there.
Okay, yeah, it's Celery City Cigars. So they have miniature, barrels that are charred and everything.
Yeah.
And I want to see if I could get one, but he hasn't been able to get one. They got the 3, I think, that they have for themselves, and then after that, they haven't been able to get one. But
Yeah,
I would love to have one and barrel age it for
Yeah.
whatever, 6 months, a year, however long.
Listen, I do a lot of barrel aged cocktails, and that's kind of my specialty is barrel aged cocktails. Well, we'll take a beautiful barrel and we'll age a cocktail. We build a cocktail in it, usually a whiskey forward cocktail, like an old fashioned Manhattan Boulevardier or a Vauquerie or something like that. We'll blend it, and then right when it's right at our proper taste, we'll throw it into a barrel and we'll barrel age it. And I've done a shit ton of those. Like I've probably got over 100 barrels in Orlando. And there is a company, it's called Redhead Barrels. Shout out to Redhead. And old vet that does some beautiful barrels out of Texas. And I tell you what, you find yourself a Redhead barrel, you get a 20 liter, drop it in there. You got to cure the barrels first, and cure them and soak them in water and let them age in water and let them swell up. And then after they're done, you go and drop them in there, and you can get them, monogrammed or etched or whatever you need to. But those are Redhead barrels. Mm-hmm.
And this one,
It's very different for me.
yeah, I'm actually
Very
getting
different.
a lot of like vanilla notes off of it. It's very sweet despite being high proof.
What's also interesting is that this is the first one. What was our 5th one? That I'm tasting where like the first sip, it comes in and burns a little bit, but it doesn't go through the nostrils. And then it comes down smooth when I swallow it. So it's a completely different flavor profile, and it smells different. It's a little different.
Yeah, and even if you let it sit in the mouth and kind of have like the saliva build up, just a little bit, it helps it almost go down smoother and bring out some of that sweetness too. At least for me.
I mean, that's the beauty about barrel proof whiskeys is, once again, it's all about the barrel. It really is. If we didn't have the barrel influence, our whiskeys would be flat and we wouldn't have really any attribute to them. Of course, 100% of the color comes from the barrel. No added colors, no added flavors in there. Sometimes on some whiskeys, you can do a little bit of caramel coloring to them to give them some color. You can usually see it when you look at the glasses. You can usually see caramel coloring by the ring that goes around the whiskey, so you can kind of see when there is caramels added to it. It's kind of a little bit of a red or an auburn colored ring into them. But barrel proof whiskeys, that's what we're all about here. We're showcasing the whiskey at proof without secondary cut on it, and we're showcasing a barrel. And that's really where I think this whiskey comes together. It's a fantastic drinking whiskey.
Well, I guess too, since it is barrel proof, you really don't need to add color a lot of times, I'm assuming, because it's that color, like you said, it's showing off the color that you're getting from the barrel.
Yeah.
The prices are pretty reasonable.
Reasonable prices on the Redhead
Redhead barrels. Yeah. Those are fantastic barrels. I mean, I've done.
They have full kits and everything.
They got full kits. Yeah.
It sounds like the Cigar Guys are going to make our first whiskey.
Yeah. We should.
Sounds like it.
It sounds like it. It sounds like we're ready. Sounds like the next podcast is going to be barrel aged whiskey.
All right, guys, I'll get to work.
We have over an hour and a half of knowledge to consume as well, over and over again.
Yeah, right.
So we could definitely do it.
Well, I look forward to it. Yeah, those are fantastic barrels. Some of the best I've had. What was it? 1,000 Oaks barrels. I've used those before in the past. There's been a couple of the barrel company, but you know what? I just keep going back to the Redheads. Those are such great people. They've done some great barrel etching on there, so you can have some of your logos etched on there or some names etched on there, and they're just fantastic barrels. And honestly, like all barrels, they all leak, they all seep, they all have these kind of weird attributes to them, but those Redhead barrels, they just hold up super nicely. So shout out to Redhead for sure. Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. What do you think, Mark?
It's great. I was getting a lot of the same flavor notes that you were getting.
Yeah.
I think I like the other one better.
Yeah.
This one's still great.
Oh, do you like it better because of the proof?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think what I've noticed for Mark is, I mean, originally too, we got him into whiskey by Japanese whiskey and then Scotch after that. And relatively, I've seen him kind of veer towards Scotch a lot. Like Belvini 14's one of his go-tos.
Caribbean cask.
Yeah,
Can't
it's
go
my
wrong.
favorite.
Cannot go wrong with that.
So, I mean, it makes sense why he generally gravitates towards the lower proofs, just because it's, I think, more focused on the flavor.
Yeah.
And, kind of limiting that proof and that alcohol content.
There's a gentle balance between proof and flavor as well, because, like we talked about, as you go into bottle proof, you're generally adding another cut of water to the whiskey before it goes into bottle. So there's a real gentle balance between how much flavor you have as a cut whiskey as you do as a barrel proof whiskey. So barrel proof whiskeys generally will have a little bit more flavor to them, a little bit more intensity to them. It's kind of like, this is like the raw version of what it is and what the whiskey really is to represent. And of course, when we're in the warehouses, we're, pulling thieves, that's the little thing that you stick down inside the barrel. It's called a whiskey thief. We're pulling thieves and we're tasting stuff right out of the barrel, and those are at, 125, 130, proof. Nice. And you're really getting the intensity of it. Of course, they're intense, but the flavors are also intense. And that's really kind of where barrel proof shine, as it gives you the chance to really experience the flavors.
How often do you actually get to do that? Yeah.
Generally speaking, every time you kind of go to a distillery as a guest, they'll walk you through, of course, the still and the mash, and show you everything, and then they'll break you into the warehouses, and they'll pull barrel samples for you. So it kind of happens, every time you're in, you're doing it.
But for you,
for me, for me, it's
Blue Run.
Yeah.
How often? For Blue Run, though.
Yeah, for Blue Run, I've never had any of their barrel samples.
If you ever do, please call me. Please call me. I'll go wherever it is with you.
I've had a lot of barrel samples. I've a lot of samples right out of the barrel, but Blue Run not. But that's where you really get a chance to understand where the flavors kind of come together as we start tasting barrel proof, and kind of the same thing that falls in with the 5-trail barrel. But this is a fantastic whiskey. It's a little bit unique in its character. Once again, that single malt through the center of the palate really kind of helps hold it. So I love this whiskey. This is kind of my drinking whiskey of choice.
No, it's really great.
Yeah, I love the proof. I love the flavors, and I love the complexity of this whiskey.
No, I agree. And even though it's higher proof, it's super smooth. I mean, you show me the proof on that, I'd be like, I don't know, but
it's almost crazy because it could sneak up on you,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Barrel proofs always
Careful,
sneak up
Jared.
on you. Yeah, they always. Now, this guy's an animal.
He is a tank.
He was pounding the 111
oh my God.
high rise the other night.
Once you get that in a blend and barrel, I'm going to buy 4 bottles.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell
Shy
him now.
is excited.
Shy's
I know, right?
excited.
I know. I'm going to text him right after we're done, but I'm going to get all 3 of these and then 2 of the high rye.
Yeah.
And bring them back to the podcast. So
yeah, it's fantastic. And I'll leave you guys with these awesome flight trays that you guys can enjoy.
Seriously?
Oh, cool.
It's
awesome. Nice.
This is a gift to the podcast for sure.
Do you want the glasses back?
No, the glasses are yours.
Man.
It's awesome. I really appreciate
Very
that.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you got 2 flight trays, you got 6 glasses, so that kind of works out.
No, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
You bet.
And then real quick, we'll end on the Barman. Finish it off strong.
Barman is a simple whiskey man's whiskey, that's for sure. If you notice the colors on this, once again, this is a Coors product. Barman is the town in Germany that the Coors dynasty came from. Barmen as a province is no longer in Germany, but it's about 60 miles outside of Dusseldorf. And 1873 is the year that Coors founded in Colorado.
Okay.
So Barmen 1873 really represents the heritage of what Coors whiskey is all about. This was their second blend, and this is a very simple. This is our most appropriate in price point as well. So this one would probably go for $39.99 on the shelf. And we've kind of gone backwards with this. We should probably have started with the Barman.
Maybe.
We're finishing with a Drink a Man's whiskey, and this is really a no frills whiskey. This is
in all fairness, you said the last three bottles are all Drink a Man's whiskey or Whiskey Man's whiskey. I mean, they're all fantastic.
they're all Whiskey Man's whiskey.
They're in a different way, though. Like they're all Whiskey Man's whiskey, but the different types of whiskey,
different tiers, right? So this one, I love this. In fact, one of the programs that we go with Barmen is to pair it with a banquet beer.
Oh wow!
So this is the banquet and the Barmen is kind of the focus that we do.
You get a Coors banquet, and then you get a nice Barmen.
Coors banquet beer with a nice Barmen whiskey.
Yeah, that's Zach's favorite beer right there.
All right, next time we have you on, we'll buy some
Coors.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you taste this, you'll see this is a very simple. This is that 4-grain bourbon.
Cheers. One final drink together. For now.
Cheers,
Zach.
Cheers, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, once you taste this, you'll see that this is a very simple whiskey, and I like to say that by itself, it's a good drinking whiskey. It really is. But it with a beer, give me a banquet and a Barman with this. Give me a beer and a shot, and just let me enjoy them.
Well, that's how you stay hydrated. You get the beer on there, and
it's true.
Yeah, and they really work together nicely. This does. This is that 4-grain out of Barstown, and this is the wheated bourbon out of MGP. This is those two whiskeys blended together, bottled at 92 proof. And then at 4 years of age on these.
Right up front, caramel on the nose. As I put the glass right there. That's the most caramel I've gotten so far. Very smooth. And this reminds me more of some of the actual Bardstown whiskeys that I've had.
Yeah.
It's very close to that.
It's just has a nice, easy complexity to it. I sell this as a it's one of those like a house whiskey. It's a whiskey you can give to your friends and your foes, right? It's like, you don't have any problem. You're not busting out the good stuff, but yet you're still drinking something different. Personally, I love this in shaken cocktails.
Okay.
So when I sell this, I sell it as a shaken opportunity. A lot of people like to shake up a cocktail in a whiskey sour or in the newly popularized Gold Rush cocktail, which is my favorite. It's a version of whiskey sour. It's with a honey syrup, lemon juice, and bourbon. You shake those two together
with the egg white.
No.
Really? So not like a traditional whiskey sour.
Not a traditional sour, right? Not a traditional whiskey sour, but actually it is more of a traditional whiskey sour than not because it doesn't have the egg white. We brought egg white in to give it more body and depth and character. But to me, this just is like super simple. It's easy drinking. It works well by itself. It's great with a beer. It's kind of just a simple man. Okay, I'll move away from the drinking man. Drinking man's whiskey.
Simple man's
whiskey. This is
which falls on the category of the whiskey man drinking the whiskey.
$39.99 retail on this one. Yeah. So you kind of see where the prices fall. We're from hundreds on the Blue Run. We're into the 60s on the 5 Trail, and we're into the 40s.
Wait, go back. What was Blue Run again?
100.
Oh, okay.
100.
I don't know if I've been drinking, but this is my favorite whiskey. So no.
The simple man's whiskey.
It just drinks so well. It's simple, easy drinking whiskey for sure.
No, for sure, I agree. I think, all these were great. I think that despite we kind of went out of order in proof, kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
they're still so flavorful. You could taste all the flavors in there. Mm-hmm. I think that too, it kind of helped balance out the alcohol contents. That way we're not kind of like being overwhelmed by the high proof or anything like that.
Yeah, sure.
every single one of these for me has been very smooth.
Yeah.
Great flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming are these very popular in like ABC and stuff like that? Like,
This and that. ABC Total Wine
Okay.
as a nice stronghold. Retail presence has been a little bit tough. There's so much whiskey on the market. People have
so
been
much to try.
There's so much to try. There's like you walk in there, it's like a kid in a candy store where there's just so much opportunity for us but you really on premise has been more obviously with the flight trays. I don't know if they can see that, but the flight trays has been a great opportunity for us to move these into some very cool affluent style restaurants serving flights. We of course were doing this at Blend and Barrel, and I have a couple other restaurants that are doing flight.
Well, I was gonna say, I think I was gonna say it's like an hour ago, but when you get into Blend and Barrel, that's how you know it's good because they're not just gonna take anybody. Like if they take Blue Run,
very specific.
that says something about the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
Shai really loved it when we brought it in over there, and he was a fan of it. Brought it in immediately. He actually has the 5 Trail as well.
I thought I recognized the bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got that over there. I don't know if you tried it when you were over there, but
More bottles to buy.
more bottles.
I have not, but I promise you I'll buy 4 bottles of these.
Okay, you got
And
it.
the second 5 Trail to the left,
The barrel proof.
that's amazing. And obviously the high ride is my favorite, but
Yeah, you like
Decisions
that.
to
You
make.
like that high ride quite a bit, man. I was really impressed by it. So, yeah, the high ride is my favorite as well on the Blue Run, and that's my drink of choice. But I tell you, if I just want a quick sip, the barman kind of hits the notes for me as well.
so just curious if you can say like, what is your favorite of the Blue Run?
My favorite of the Blue Run is it's a good question. I'm probably gonna go with the high rye. I'm probably gonna go with the high rye.
I really don't think you can beat it. Honestly,
I mean,
it sounds silly.
The only
I'm just-
way you could beat it is with the Emerald, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But
now that's the number 2,
yeah.
but the first one I think would get the masses together. I could be wrong.
yeah, no,
I'm
no,
just saying like
yeah.
everyone probably
So
would
you go
agree.
I want number 2.
You're the bourbon?
No,
Is that
no.
what you're saying? The bourbon
He's
or the
the
high
one
rye?
too. I'll get the high rye. What I'm saying
Okay,
is
the
like
high
this.
rye.
This one probably sell the most.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See. Yeah.
Well,
This one
bourbons
sells
always
them.
sell the most. People are always up for the bourbons. It's
Yeah.
like, bourbon's the number one category. So
Yep.
bourbons always sell the most. But the high rye as a bourbon in itself, which the name is a little bit misleading because people think as a high rye,
It's
they're
a rye.
thinking it's a rye.
Yeah.
It's not. It's actually a bourbon. But that I think that's the best of both worlds is the high rye. And then the rye. I mean, I love ryes. I've been drinking a shit ton of ryes these days, and I do love where that high rye comes from. So I would say number 1 for me on the Blue Run would be the high rye, and then probably the rye, and then the bourbon. I do love the bourbon though. It's tough because that bourbon is so good. It's so sweet.
I love
It's
them
so
all. I'm
rich.
just thinking of a, crazy situation where
Yeah.
it's like if I only had to pick one,
Yeah, right.
Yes.
If you were on a desert island, what would
I had
you be
water
drinking?
and high ride to drink.
So
Yeah.
water and high
If Jared was on a desert island, he'd be like, I don't know, and he'd sit there for 3 hours trying to pick which one.
It's like so much for rescue.
Yeah, right.
It's like fantastic. And then on the the 5 Trail, I think I would probably go with the barrel proof.
Yes.
Only because I do like barrel proofs. At a 116, this thing drinks fantastic. So this would probably be where I would fall with the barrel proof. And then for simple everyday drinking, I mean the barman fits that niche.
Absolutely. Well,
I do like the barrel proof myself.
Thanks for joining us, Zach.
Yeah, of course.
Hey,
no
wait,
problem, yeah.
can you hear me?
Is the barrel proof your
You got it
favorite
right.
out of the 6?
It's definitely up there. Sorry, gotta adjust the gain. It's
Thanks
definitely
for
up there in
joining
my
us.
favorites, to be honest.
Welcome
with you.
aboard.
But I do like stronger whiskeys, but because they're not diluted,
Yeah.
right? I always prefer. I want the true flavor of whatever someone is creating. So that's kind of. I think I appreciate it.
That's
more.
not what your cigar choice says. I'm just fucking with you.
Well, I will say I've never smoked an acid cigar in my life.
You did smoke a flavor too, right?
Once I was tricked. It was
Coerced into.
a terrible
Yours
day.
truly.
But anyway, I do like the barrel strength a lot.
Barrel proof whiskeys have a tendency to to attract a lot of people because of that rich flavor that they all represent. Remember, we're eliminating a second cut of water. And if the philosophy goes that if I want a little extra water in my whiskey, I'll add it myself. I don't need you to add water to my whiskey.
Yeah.
Never.
So that's where the philosophy behind barrel age stuff comes from. And of course, the barrel age stands for themselves. And all barrel age whiskeys kind of stand for themselves with that philosophy. It's like, give me as much flavor and as much strength as I can get out of it. And then let me do with it as I do. And that's why barrel proofs are fantastic whiskeys and as popular as they are today with whiskey drinkers. Just I wish people knew a little bit more on how to drink barrel proofs because, the higher the proof, the better.
Yeah.
Give me this 138 proof. It's like, sometimes it can be a bit much.
I'm saving money.
I could drink less. I only need 1 ounce, to get me there. It's barrel proofs, but barrel proofs are great in that fashion for sure.
Well, listen, Phil,
That was awesome.
really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you sharing all your knowledge, not just on these brands, but just on whiskey in general, spirits, and even wines.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm so glad you stopped by. And again, you guys need to check out Blue Run. You need to check out Five Trail. I'm not exaggerating. And Zach's the expert here. He can attest.
They are both fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic whiskeys. And like I said, Blend and Barrel carries them. So you know that's good stuff. Phil, seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
You've been a great guest. I'm so glad to have you on.
Yeah, you bet.
Anytime you want to come back, just let us know.
Yeah, you bet. I'd love to. Love to be back. And maybe next time we can do some tequilas.
Let's do it.
Wow. Okay, there we go.
Hey,
Yeah.
Some tequilas and raki. All right,
There-
next
yeah,
time,
there we
I'm
go.
gonna have
Yeah.
my barrel aged raki,
Yeah.
and then we'll drink that.
Let's
There
do
you
it.
go.
In fact, should we just
Until
bring
next
them out
week,
right
guys.
now? Let's just bring out the tequilas right now.
Now we're talking.
All good. Thank
Until
you.
next week, guys, take care. See you later.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cigar Guys Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Looking for short form content? Check out all our social media accounts in the description below. And now, a final word from our sponsors.
What if every cigar was considered vintage? What if every cigar that we made was that perfect experience? And so that passion drove us to create Sans Pareil, a cigar without equal. The inspiration between Sans Pareil is 100% all about quality. Everything that we enjoy in our cigars, everything from the tasting notes to the burn, to the aroma, to the way the cigar lights, to the packaging. Everything is focused on Sans Pareil cigars. And that's where we came up with our name, Sans Pareil, which is French for without equal, unparalleled. And we take every cigar that we make to that level, making sure that if it isn't something that inspires you to do something more, then it's not part of the portfolio. And that's what drives us every day.